In this section, we will talk about some of the actors that influence the world of drones. We will touch on how those actors in turn influence policy.
We will first focus on policy actors domestically and then have a brief discussion about policy beyond our borders. You will find that military, civilian, national, and international drone warfare policy all overlap a bit. We must remember that we are now living in a global community with the ability to touch a button in one country and cause a drone strike in another.
Just to give you an idea of how vast the market is, here are the companies that are involved with some parts of the drone market in 2019. It is mind-boggling. These companies are involved with producing a myriad of delivery, flight, and weapon systems.
Military drone policy is influenced and overseen by the Department of Defense in the United States. This is a huge conglomerate of many offices and departments and includes all the branches of the armed services, the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Currently, every branch of the government uses drones.
Since there is an overlap between military and civilian drone markets, there has to be agreed upon borders that separate civilian and military airspace. The FAA, or the Federal Aviation Administration, works with the military sector to create policies regarding domestic airspaces.
The most immediate policy issues that occur domestically are over the use of the technology itself, or rather where it is used. There must be formal policy in place to identify where, when, and how civilians and military UAVs can fly. Additionally, there are real fears from the civilian sector of military drones encroaching on civilian privacy.
Here's a map of military airspace that bans civilian use. There is really no mixing of civilian and military airspace for UAVs. Armed drones are only allowed for training exercises and are otherwise banned from operating on US soil.
Internationally, the drone market is seeing record growth with every category of drone increasing over the last 10 years. Most importantly, the number of countries with heavy UAV capacity has tripled. Heavy UAVs have the capacity to be weaponized, allowing their use in warfare.
The US is one of the largest drone exporters, rivaled only by China. It is anticipated that the drone market will grow by $43 billion in a mere 4 years from now, tripling the market size from 2019.
International policy for drone usage is inadequate. However, there have been attempts to address the trade and share of drone warfare technology. In December of 2014, the International Arms Trade Treaty was signed. This was meant to regulate the use and transfer of armament such as drones to balance the power between nations. However, it has since failed. This was due in large part to the fact that there was no centralized governing body to enforce the treaty. It also relied on the United States leading the way and acting as an example for other countries.
The Obama administration tried to regulate drone warfare by signing a declaration with 44 other countries in October 2016, attempting to create multinational reporting on drone strikes and export controls on weapons. However, without legislative support at home, the Trump administration pulled out of the international coalition in May 2019. The US now stands with governments such as Russia, China, Syria, Iran, Israel, and North Korea in opposing the measures intended to promote global cooperation by leveling the playing field for military armaments.
With a lack of formal policy on international use, there have been hundreds of drone strikes that have been unaccounted for. There are even more ethically questionable drone strikes that have no enforceable consequences. Drone technology is advancing at breakneck speed. Therefore, it has never been more important than now to implement policy that can bring about regulations.
Where does that leave drone warfare? Well, it is much like the Wild West of new technology, guns and all. There is no formal centralized regulation that is currently being followed by the major players in the industry. Many still reference the ineffective 2014 Arms Trading Agreement. Without accountability and transparency for the future, major actors will be able to use drones in warfare without considering the consequences.